Hi sewing friends, welcome to my sewing room. Today we're making this super cute banner, heart flag banner. I'll show you how to do all the piecing, and then I have other videos to do the quilting, the binding, and then I'll add one more on how to do this really easy casing on the top to hang your banner. Let's get started. This is what you're going to need to make your heart flag banner. You'll need your blue fabric with stars, and all of the size dimensions will be down in the description. This is 4.5 by 6. You'll need some 1.5 inch strips for the stripes. You'll need a white rectangle for under the heart. We're going to use some 2-inch strips to go around and border the heart. We're going to make some half square triangles here with these 3.5 inch squares. That's one of the first things that we're going to do. I have 10 of each. And then you'll need some short 3-inch strips to finish up the outside border. So let's make our half square triangles. I'm using 3.5 inch squares. That's my go-to method when I'm using scraps to make my half square triangles. I want a 3-inch half square triangle, so I move up a 1/2 inch and I draw a line through the middle here, right sides together, sew down on either side of that pencil line. And then I just cut right through the middle on the pencil line again. Then I press open towards the dark side. This one has already been pressed towards the dark side, and I'll trim to 3 inches. It's nice when your ruler has that little diagonal line through the center. It really helps line that up. So there's our 3-inch half square triangle, and I'm going to make 10. I'll make a mixture of red and blue. All right, I'm going to start with the top of our flag heart banner, and I have the rectangle of stars, and I want to put stripes over here, and they need to be 6 inches. The strips are 1.5 inches wide, and I'm going to make 4 strips that are 6 inches long, 2 and 2, 2 white and 2 red. So we'll sew these together, alternating colors. I've pressed my stripes toward the darker color, and now we're going to do the top of our heart. The way to do the corners is I have 2.5 inch squares that I forgot to add to the supply list at the beginning of this video, but here they are. That'll be written down underneath in the description of the video, and I'm going to lay them in those top corners. And then I'll take a ruler and a pencil and draw a line from corner to corner, and from this corner to this corner. If you can imagine the top of a heart. And then after I draw my lines, I will sew right along the line. I'll trim off about 1/4 inch away from my seam on both of these pieces, and then I will press. So here's the top of our heart flag, and we're going to put these 2 pieces together with a 1/4 inch seam. And this should be 11.5 inches wide. So I have all my red and white strips ready to go, 1.5 inch strips. I did not cut the different segments ahead of time because I didn't want to get them all mixed up. So I'm just going to cut as I go, and I know the next two are going to need to be 11.5 inches. So let's do a red and a white, 11.5 inches long. And I can do these together. Now I just sew those on to my heart, starting with the red. And then the white one. I'll press that to the darker fabric, and then from here on out we are making shorter and shorter strips so that the flag turns into a heart, and then we'll trim off the edges. So the next size that we add is 11 inch, an 11 inch red. Which is going to be a tiny bit shorter, so I just want to center it. I'll have a little bit, maybe a 1/4 inch off each end, hanging off each end. The next segment is a 10-inch white. So here's my white. I need 10 inches. And when I put it on here, I just want to center it so that, what is it, about 1/2 inch should be on either side. And then I sew that on. And I'm going to continue on down. The very last one is a 2-inch white, or red piece, I should say. And I'll put this on a time lapse, and you'll just see how we're going to add red and white stripes down to the bottom, just centering the strips as you go. All right, we've added all of our little strips of fabric, starting with the 11.5 inch and going all the way down to a 2-inch at the bottom. Now I'm going to take my ruler, and I'm going to begin up here, kind of in the middle of this second white strip. You can begin anywhere you want. This is very free-form. You just want to make sure that your ruler is covering the end of each of these seams. If a seam is poking out like this, you'll need to move your ruler. But you're just making an angled seam from the corner, the center of this bottom square up to that second strip or thereabouts. And I'm going to cut all that off. And I'll do the same on the other side. Starting at the center there and up to the top, kind of the middle of this second strip. And we'll take off that excess. And there's our heart. Now we just need to, the next step is to add the cream. So this is how I do the bottom of that heart. Since every heart is going to be slightly different, you're going to use your heart as your guide. And I'm going to set it, lay it on my 8 by 11 piece of muslin, and I'm going to line the top of this rectangle up here with the bottom of the star fabric. And I'm going to use my ruler, and let me get my little bit longer ruler here. And I'm just going to use the the heart as my pattern. Lay it right there. Follow along that angle, and now you have one corner of your background ready right there. And the great thing about using muslin is you can turn it upside down because it's two-sided. You won't be able to use one-sided fabric for this background if you do use this method. And then this will be the other side of your heart. It will be too big because we wanted a little wiggle room to get those angles right. It will be too big, but that's okay. We're going to trim it up when we're done sewing these on. So first I'm going to sew this on. I'm going to have some hanging off here and some hanging off here. I'll sew it along there, turn that over, and then I will sew this one on. Same thing. I kind of want some excess on either end so that when we put it together we'll trim it up. So let's sew that together. So now it's time to trim up our heart. And the nice thing about this pattern is your heart will be slightly different than mine, and we really don't have to measure much anymore. We have to keep things straight, but nothing else is going to be an exact measurement. We do want this to have some straight sides to it, so use your cutting mat and your ruler and try to straighten this up using these sides as your guide. And that, I think we'll leave it at that. Now we're going to add some 2-inch strips on 3 sides of this heart. So here are all of my half square triangles arranged around my flag heart, and I have this group pointing to this corner and that group pointing here, and the other sets are pointing to this corner. So I do not have enough half square triangles to complete the border, and since we're all making different size flags, they're all going to come out slightly different. I have a strip of 3-inch wide muslin, my background fabric, that I'll be filling in. Once I have these sewn together, I'll sew these 5 together as a group, and then I'll see how they fit, and then I'll add some fabric to finish off that side of the flag, and then I'll do the same thing on this side. I want the points to match, so I'll add my cream fabric here and up at that top corner on that side. So I might need some going this way and this way. So the border is all on now. All those half square triangles are surrounding that beautiful heart. And as you can see, I used 3-inch squares in those 2 corners, and on the other corners, I just used the excess muslin to finish it off. I didn't really have to measure anything. I just laid it on the side of my quilt banner there and sewed it on. And if you want to quilt and bind your small quilt, I have videos on how to do that. I'll add those in the description below. And thank you for joining me in my sewing room today.